Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Sporting Perspective. It is week 7 of the college football schedule. We're in October and deep into it at this point. Last week, a lot of crazy upsets, a lot of close games that were not expected. And we're going to just jump right on into it. We got some big storylines we want to talk about. James, I'll let you go first and we'll kind of go back and forth here and there, but we got some things we want to talk about here.
Yeah, I'll rattle off my first two. I know we'd previously talked about what we were going to talk about in this episode, so I'll talk about my first two because yours, I know, go off of that. So, yeah, my number one thing, I think this was, who knows, a week ago. I think it might have been 2 weeks ago. I had talked about getting off Arch Manning's back. Yeah, I'm going to retract that. I don't think Arch Manning's bad. I just don't think he's the guy. He was a little overhyped, I think. I mean, having the last name Manning on his back, I think, put the pressure on him. And like I said, I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but to just throw him right into the Heisman conversation, first year starting, he just really hasn't lived up to the bill. And Texas overall, honestly, hasn't really lived up to the bill. So I'm not going to call him average. I am going to call him above average. I think he has the potential to have big games here and there. Unfortunately, it just seems to be coming against subpar competition. When the bright lights are on him, he doesn't seem to really play to his potential, I guess you could say, for what everyone thinks he should be. But, whether that means then maybe he isn't the guy, then he isn't the guy. I guess now that I think about it, I kind of just contradicted myself. If you want to be elite, you got to be able to step up in the big moments. And, he shouldn't only have good games against, the non-power four conferences and, his, why am I blanking on the, not preseason. What are the three games? Non-conference. So when he plays like crappy non-conference teams and he has good games, that seems to be the only time he's actually shining. And then he plays like crappy SEC teams. He shines as well, but then he plays the Ohio States and can't perform. So I'm just gonna say he's average to above average at this point. My second point is Penn State and James Franklin losing at UCLA has to be one of the worst losses we've seen in a while. This was a really bad UCLA team. They're 0-4. They fired their coach. They had what's his name, Blondie, calling offensive plays.
Jerry Neuheisel.
Jerry Neuheisel. Yeah, Neuheisel's son, Jerry. I remember him when he was playing at UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy that he's already elevated to offensive coordinator. People are calling for him to be the coach now.
Yeah.
But whatever he did worked because other than Nico Imialavea or whatever his name is, however you pronounce it, I don't know anyone on this UCLA team. I had previously talked about Nico making a bad business decision, which I still think is true. But that was probably the upset of the year so far. I mean, that was no one could have predicted that. And I know you have something to say about Arch and James Franklin. I'm just going to put it out here. I know it's a $50 million buyout for James Franklin. Maybe you don't need to fire him right this second, but I think his tenure needs to go. I mean, that's probably the worst loss in his Penn State tenure, and he's not the guy. I mean, there's so many statistics out there about how he can't win the big game. Okay, you're not winning the big game. You now just lost a game that you should not have lost at all. So I'll hand the floor over to you.
Yeah, I mean, going back to it being a loss we haven't seen in a very long time, there's a lot of weight to that. I can't think of an in-conference loss being so bad since Stanford beat USC almost 20 years ago. The line in that game was weird, though, being 23. Should have been a lot more, but granted, Penn State came in super beat up to that game. Oregon really killed them and everything like that. James Franklin's buyout's a little over $50 million, so that's a lot of money. I don't know if they're going to be able to buy him out, so this is kind of my solution, my thought process here on something that I think might work. Arch Manning's reminding me a lot of Bo Nix at this point. Bo Nix played at Auburn, had a lot of expectation, was the number one recruit in his high school class. Really didn't live up to the billing at Auburn when he was there, still competitive, but he's Arch Manning's kind of starting to begin to look like the same thing. Him going somewhere else that's not Texas may not be a bad idea at the end of this year at the transfer portal, and I think the perfect place for him would be Penn State, which has a very easy schedule on the slate for 26. Give James Franklin his last chance because their hardest game that year next year is going to be Michigan at Michigan. It's a very winnable schedule next year. Aller's gone. I'm thinking maybe there's a marriage between these two that really help turn it around.
Yeah, that would be a last ditch effort. I It would literally have to be both of them helping each other, like you said. I mean, with the schedule, I haven't looked at their schedule, but if it really is that easy and Michigan's their hardest game, it is at Michigan, so let's just assume that's a loss and they win out every other game and go to the playoffs. I mean, he's gonna James Franklin would really have to prove something to the fans to want to keep him because I know I know Penn State Twitter is brutal right now, and yeah, I mean I don't know the solution for Arch Manning, but why not at this point? You know, it's not doesn't seem to be working in Texas, so yeah, go try something else. Pull a Dylan Gabriel, pull a Bo Nix, like you said, and go see if you can resurrect your career and work your way back up into being one of the top NFL prospects that you were supposed to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I think too is, I mean, we got to also remember the fact that he's lost to Ohio State in Columbus and he's lost to Florida at the Swamp. It's not like he's losing to Vanderbilt or losing
No,
to Kentucky. He is losing to historically great programs that are tough to play at. So,
right. But to be a historically great program, which Penn State thinks they are,
yeah,
you got to beat those teams occasionally too, and he's not beating them
true,
at all. And he
true.
lost to UCLA, which is bad.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
My
Um,
last one, I'll keep it brief. It's basically just the Big 12 is super wide open. Cincinnati had a huge upset over Iowa State. Iowa State actually really tried to come back and win that game, and I think they just ran out of time because it was a it was a lot to a little when I looked. I remember it was like the second or third quarter, and Cincinnati was winning like 30 something to 7. I was like, oh my god, this is insane. So that obviously was a huge upset that I didn't see coming. It was at Cincinnati, which helps its case a little bit. But the Big 12 is, for football, looks to be just like how the Big 12 in basketball is. They're just all beating up each other. So I guess I'm still sticking with my preseason pick of ASU winning the Big 12. But like I said, it's wide open right now, and it looks like there's a ton of teams who have a good shot at winning the Big 12.
yeah, I feel like it's wide open. Texas Tech is slowly becoming my favorite out of that grouping. But yeah, it's wide open conference. Talking about a lot of parity within a conference, SEC now has 9 teams in the top 25, 7 in the top 12. So my question to you is, how many of those teams do you think you're going to get in the playoff?
It's a good question. Well, if you have to assume that you have 4 automatic teams from the conferences, so 3 with one being
Yep.
the SEC.
I mean, they got 4 last year, if I remember right.
I think that conference is still going to beat up each other a little bit. There's still a long season to go. I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say 5 SEC teams make the playoffs.
I think 5 get in too because I think the Big Ten's only going to send 3. So I think 5 from the SEC is very doable this year. And then kind of a second note, or not really second note, my third final note is I just want to address the Heisman favorites just a month and a half into the season have drastically changed. The 3 names now on top of the board, Carson Beck, Dante Moore, Ty Simpson, 3 guys that weren't even close. I know Francisco from Indiana is also in the mix there.
Oh,
Um,
Fernando.
yep,
Fernando
um, it,
Mendoza.
it's been pretty phenomenal how some of these guys have jumped up the leaderboard. And then on top of it, I saw even a mock draft today that has Ty Simpson now as the number 1 overall pick. Carson
Wow.
Beck is the number 6 pick. Talk about 2 guys that Carson Beck had basically fallen off of draft boards at the end of last year. It's amazing how much things have changed. But I guess at this point, if you could crown a Heisman, who would it be?
It's hard not to go with Dante Moore. I mean, he's statistically putting up unbelievable numbers. I think he only has like one interception, if I remember right. And Oregon's already beat Penn State. They have a big win, and that was at Penn State too, which is a tough place to play, or should be at least.
Yeah,
um, I'm going Dante Moore. If the season ended today, I'm going Dante Moore.
yeah. I think a
And
lot
for
of
the
people.
future too. And for the future too, I'm going to pick Dante Moore.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. And but it's amazing how these three guys, well, I guess you can even include Mendoza into it. Him being at Cal, he was good at Cal, but not someone you were really talking about. It's amazing how these four quarterbacks, especially, have risen from the ashes in a lot of ways. Guys that we really weren't talking about much. Um, well, in a positive light, or as this is what this guy brings to the table.
Well,
Um,
preseason, I mean, you had Nussmeyer, he's dropped out. You had Arch
yep,
Manning, he's dropped out. And you had Cade Klubnik with Clemson, he's dropped out. It's three dudes, and they were supposed to be the top three quarterbacks taken in the draft.
yeah,
If there was one I had to pick from that grouping that could still have a really, really good NFL career, I think it's Nussmeyer, but and LSU only has one loss. Nussmeyer just hasn't been playing that well.
you can add Drew Aller in there too, and he only has
Yeah, Drew
one game
Aller.
over 200 yards passing so far this year. So a lot of the guys and Nico has really just not been what we thought he would be, except for last week. We there's a lot of guys that are just not having the season we thought. I mean, a guy that's kind of emerging up the Heisman watch as well. He's a freshman, Carr, quarterback out of Notre Dame. He's had a pretty good few last weeks, and he looks like he may be the real deal going forward. Um, but yeah, some of these guys that we had a lot of hype for fading. So, but you want to jump into some of these great games that we got this week?
Let's do it.
All right, so a lot of repeat of what we've already talked about with a lot of the matchups, but let's just jump right on into it. Number 8, Alabama, Ty Simpson, quarterback of that team, heading to number 14, Missouri. High-powered SEC matchup here.
Yeah, I'm liking everything I've seen from Alabama. I think Ty Simpson, like you said, he's doing everything right now. I think the boosters and the fan base have kind of cooled it a little bit on Kalen DeBoer talk, which is good. Missouri is a tough place to play. They're not the toughest place to play, or one of the toughest in my opinions. I think Alabama goes in there and gets the job done, so I'm taking Alabama.
I have Alabama too, but this game makes me very nervous being away from Tuscaloosa. They lost their opening game in Tallahassee. You remember they played Georgia at home. They played Vanderbilt at home, if I remember right.
Yep.
Or was Georgia on the road?
I'll look that up. Keep going.
Georgia might have been on the road. So actually, throw that statement out. Missouri's still a tough place to play. I'm going to take Bama. I think it's going to be very close, kind of like a 20, 28, 26, 25 type game, really close within a field goal. I think that game was at Georgia. Now that
It was at Georgia.
I'm reliving it in my head. I'm going to take Bama. I think it's going to be close though. What does their computer friends say?
Computer simulation had Alabama winning 21-16.
Okay. Top 7 Big Ten matchup here. Number 7, Indiana, heading to Autzen to take on number 3, Oregon. Both these teams coming off of byes, which is kind of nice for both teams. They're coming off some rest. But who do you got in this high-powered Big Ten matchup?
Yeah, this is a fun quarterback matchup. I know we already mentioned Fernando Mendoza. We've mentioned Dante Moore. Both quarterbacks are solid. We've talked a lot about Indiana in the past as a really good team, but they haven't really shown any big wins. I know Indiana crushed Illinois. That's really their best win of the year. I'm taking Oregon at home at Autzen Stadium. That place will be rocking. Yeah, I'm taking Oregon at home.
I'm taking Oregon at home. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. It might just be the Oregon fan within me, but this weirdly has this feeling in the top of my head that this could be an ugly game, like a 41-10 type game where Oregon just kind of routes them. But the one thing that scares me about Indiana is they are really good at the quick pass game. That's the only way they could keep Oregon off of the field, and that may get some difficulty. So that could make the game at least closer. But I'll take Oregon. Um, yeah, let's go to the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma.
Simulation.
Oh, simulation.
Um, Simulation actually went along with what you're probably looking for. Simulation had Oregon winning 34-13.
I have a feeling it might go that way. On to the great old Red River rivalry, number six, Oklahoma, taking on unranked University of Texas at the Cotton Bowl. Who do you have here?
So as of right this second, we're still not sure if John Mateer's playing. I've heard rumblings that he might try to. I don't know what his injury designation is or how healthy he actually might be if he does. I'm assuming he doesn't. Yeah, I'm taking Texas. I know Dallas is technically a neutral site uh, for both these teams, but with it being in Texas and Dallas only being hour and a half, 2 hours north of Austin, I'm taking Texas in a rebound. I just don't. I think without John Mateer, I don't think Oklahoma will just live up to its offense that looked to be pretty goddamn good before Mateer got hurt. And I'm not looking into anything that happened in last week's game because Oklahoma just destroyed Kent State. And their backup quarterback looked fine. But again, it's Kent State. So I'm taking Texas.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas here too. They're actually favored by 2.5. I feel like even though Oklahoma has that six next to their name, I feel like Texas has been more challenged this year, and unfortunately, those just haven't turned into wins. But I feel like they've been more challenged. I think they're the deeper team, and with the quarterback injury to Oklahoma, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to bounce back from that. I think we see one of the better games from Manning so far this season as he performs, and I'll take Texas, and they bounce back into the top 25 after this one. What do we got in the simulation?
So I simmed this game first and completely forgot to remove John Mateer from from it. Texas
Yeah.
still won.
Oh,
I redid the sim and removed John Mateer uh, from the starting lineup, and Texas won 25-23.
close game. Yeah, I figure that's going to be close, so no surprise there. Let's head over to California. Number 15, Michigan, going to take on unranked USC.
I'm taking USC at home. Michigan on the road, I think, is a different team than Michigan at home. I know you just mentioned Oklahoma with the 6 next to their name. Michigan's got the 15 next to their name. But they're still just not quite the Michigan of old. They do have a good defense. I just think USC is going to be just playing a little better with that home crowd behind them, so I'm taking USC.
I'm actually going to take Michigan here. They've been playing well of late. They're a little bit more challenged on the schedule as well. Kind of the same thing I said about Texas. And then on top of it, I think that Michigan crowd's going to travel well. USC, especially when they don't have national championship hopes behind their season, that crowd begins to become more and more disinterested. And Southern California is filled with a lot of Michigan people. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of a big Wolverine contingent at the Coliseum this weekend. I'm going to take Michigan. I think it's going to be ugly. Um, yeah, low scoring, but I got Michigan.
Well, simulation is completely opposite than that. Simulation has Michigan winning 41-37.
Jesus. Okay, a lot of scoring. All right, let's head to the Big 12. 21 ASU heading into Utah.
Yeah, this just I don't know if I want to call this a trap game per se, but Utah is known for their night atmosphere. This is indeed a night game in Utah. That's really all I'm going with. I mean, ASU I think overall is the sort of the better team. Utah has gotten back to what we kind of thought Utah would be. Last year was a really bad year for Utah, but ASU just makes a lot of mistakes, and they just haven't shown me that they're like super dominant. I know I had talked about ASU still winning this conference, which think they can. At least I think they'll make the playoffs. I'll say that. But I'm taking Utah at home at night with that rockin' Mormon atmosphere.
I like Utah as well, purely because of everything you just said. But I will say the wide receiver Tyson out of ASU is rocketing up draft boards. As I was talking about draft boards with quarterbacks earlier, so I had a mock draft. He's not projected to go five, first wide receiver off the board, but he's had an incredible year so far, and he's got a good track record there to go with it. But Utah playing at night is a tough journey, and ASU doesn't show me much more outside of that wide receiver and that quarterback hooking up. It's just been those two guys. If you're able to take those two guys out of the game, you've shut down ASU's offense. So I'm going to take Utah, and I believe that they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, Levitt's had not the second year, I guess, at ASU that he's probably been looking for when last year was such a good year for ASU. Simulation does have ASU winning 30-10, however.
All right. Well, that's not close. Jeez. All right. Well, that said, we're going to do a top three, a little bit different than we usually do here. And it's kind of a fun fact more than anything else. So last week in the NFL, there were six starting quarterbacks that played at Oklahoma, which is wild to think. Basically, every starting quarterback from 2015 to 2023 is now starting quarterback in the NFL. Bizarre. So we decided let's do our top three who we think talented wise Oklahoma quarterbacks are at this point. So I'll let you go first. And I guess you want to do
Yeah,
if
so
you want to do
what's
three,
that?
two, one. I'll let you go 3-2-1. I'll do my three. Three,
Okay.
two, one.
So my three is Caleb Williams. He's still so young. He is so talented, and he actually is looking a little better. The Bears don't look completely inept. Um, when the Bears have lost games, I don't think it's really been Caleb's fault per se, but I'm putting Caleb at three. I'm putting Baker Mayfield at two. I mean, it's hard not to put him at one right now, but the only reason I didn't put him at one is for one specific reason. I have Jalen Hurts at one because he's a Super Bowl champ, and until someone can, take that away from him, uh, I think he's the best quarterback from Oklahoma right now in the game. I know Eagles have had a weird year, even though they're 4-1. Jalen Hurts hasn't really been targeting his wide receivers. I've seen a couple stories. I have a buddy of mine who's a big Eagles fan, and he says that the new offensive coordinator for the Eagles has been like almost like in baseball when you're tipping pitches. He's tipping his plays so they know when they're going to hand it off to Saquon. So you can just stack the box and you know what's coming. Um, but yeah, I'm putting Jalen Hurts at one. Baker Mayfield's not far behind because he
Yep.
is having an absolutely incredible season this year. So, say Tampa somehow miraculously, actually, let's not say miraculously, it wouldn't be a miracle. If Tampa wins the Super Bowl and Baker gets that Super Bowl ring, he might vault himself into the top OU quarterback.
Someone's back there. There you go. Cool. Someone was trying to find something. I heard what you said. All right, so I'll do my top three really quick. Caleb Williams is a three for pretty much exactly what that you said. I can't. I would love to put Kyler at three, but I can't do it. Just too many mistakes. He's been in the league now so long. I'd rather put my faith in Caleb over Kyler. I've actually got Hurts at two, and it's because I think he's more of a system quarterback than anything else. Super Bowl winning, everything like that, fantastic. But if he wasn't playing for the Eagles, I think he would struggle a lot more. And I got Baker at one because he's just the ultimate gunslinger right now. And 5 weeks into the NFL season, it's tough to call anyone else the MVP in the NFL right now. I mean, if there's a
Yes.
quarterback I went out there, he's probably in the top three.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, he
Yeah,
is.
I couldn't put Kyler in there. I mean, partially it's not his fault. All of I'm not going to say it's not Kyler's fault. I think it's more the offensive coordinator. I know we'll get into a little more Kyler talk in the NFL show, but at least the Bears let Caleb open it up a little more, and he actually throws the ball. But I think the Cardinals are just a little too afraid to let Kyler do anything, which is a little odd, but
Yeah,
whatever.
we'll get more into that one tomorrow. So that said, I don't think I have anything else to say. All good.
All good.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow. NFL show, week 6 of the NFL slate. We'll see you guys tomorrow. That's it for college football.